Chris Jericho is one of those performers who seem to exist to remind the pro wrestling industry that reinvention is both an art form and a business model. The image that first imprinted on millions of fans, lights dropping, a countdown roaring, and a new voice interrupting an all-time great, still works as shorthand for a moment. But the real story we're telling now is the one closest to the present. What a modern Jericho return to WWE would actually mean in the TKO era, why the idea keeps resurfacing, and how it could be executed without feeling like pure nostalgia. To understand that, you trace two lines at once. Line 1, the resume, undisputed champion, intercontinental record holder, architect of segments that became part of the canon, from the list gags to the festival of friendship. Line 2, the reinventions, Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla, suit and tie destroyer, painmaker, Le Champion, wizard, each a distinct chapter with new gear, music, cadence, even a new way of walking to the ring. Those two lines converge into a more interesting question than will he, namely, how would a return be staged so that it feels like an inevitable next act rather than a museum exhibit. Start with the reality that modern WWE is built around eventizing television as much as stadium shows. A Jericho comeback gives production departments a field day. The choice between the Y2J countdown and the rabid chorus of Judas, the long walk through a darkened arena with just the truss lights pulsing, the cutaway to people in the upper decks realizing what they're hearing before the camera finds the man at the curtain. If it's the countdown, you play with the clock, glitch it at 9, stall at 5, then slam to black and blast, break the walls down, just as a heel starts a sentence. If it's Judas, you let the crowd sing the first verse a cappella, cut the house sound for the hook, and drop pyro right as the chant crescendos. It's not just entrance porn. It's a reminder that Jericho's value is as much about orchestrating a room as it is about executing a lion tamer. Then there is fit and function. A healthy way to think about a return is to invert the usual, who should he wrestle? Prompt and ask, what problem does he solve? WWE constantly has to do three things: elevate a new name, protect a current ace, and make history feel alive. Jericho can do all three in one well-booked quarter. You can pair him with a talker in his prime, someone like Seth Rollins or LA Knight, who doesn't need the rub, but benefits from rounds of verbal chess. You can give him a program that restores the heartbreak of 2017 and pays it off at last. Kevin Owens stepping into a ring to hear a certain word pronounced slowly into a mic, the camera staying on their faces, the whole building remembering at once. You can hand him a hard-charging prospect, Carmelo Hayes, Braun Breaker, Grayson Waller, and ask him to draw out the nuances on live TV, building a match where the move that steals the finish is a glance at the hard cam before a small package. He has always been a master of calibrating stakes. He sells a 1 count like he's surprised at your audacity. He gives a 2 count the extra heartbeat that tells the viewer we're close. And he saves the kick out at 2.9999 for when it actually matters. The calendar, of course, is the other character in this story. A pragmatic view puts the cleanest window for a sustained WWE run after obligations elsewhere wind down. That reality doesn't kill the buzz, it refines it. It means a comeback would be planned rather than improvised, with a runway of months to seed archival clips on social, reintroduce greatest hits on YouTube, and lay breadcrumbs on commentary without overpromising. It means production can storyboard the exact week a clock appears in the corner of the screen during a main event promo, and nobody acknowledges it until the final 5 seconds, when it suddenly starts ticking. It also means creative can structure routes that don't hinge on grinding every live event. Jericho's biggest late career matches have always been about pacing, heat, and timing. The less is more schedule is a feature, not a bug. When you start mapping specific programs, 3 lanes make immediate sense. The first is the closure lane, where he revisits a thread that still tugs at fans. The Owens arc is the obvious one, but there's also the Rey Mysterio rivalry that once revolved around a mask and could be reframed around legacy. A respectful feud where 2 artists try to outcreate each other in stipulations, with a mask versus career tease that doesn't need to pay off literally to land emotionally. The second is the elevation lane, where he takes a rising name and puts the kid's personality under a spotlight in weekly segments, game shows, talk shows, contract signings, where the actual gimmick is say less and listen more. The third is the myth versus era lane, where he works a short high-gloss series with a modern champion known for pace and sequences, creating a clash of textures. Classical control against modern tempo, false finishes rationed with malice aforethought.
I love you too, buddy. I love you.
Oh my God! No matter what Jericho's done, he hasn't deserved that! Oh my God, no!
There's also the meta game of music and IP. Jericho is one of the few wrestlers whose entrance theme is part of his live act because the building itself becomes the chorus. If he returns under the old WWE theme, you get the nostalgia hit. If he returns with Judas, you invite a delicious dissonance, an outsider sound in the most insider arena, a sign that the times have changed and so has the man. Either choice is a statement. Layer on the fact that he's also the frontman of a touring rock band and the captain of an annual cruise that functions like a micro-festival for wrestling and music, and you suddenly have cross-platform storytelling possibilities. Announce a cruise-adjacent WWE documentary short, have a locker room scene themed on the ship's deck, lean into the worldly veteran aesthetic, rather than pretending the last decade didn't happen. Physically, a smart return leans into what Jericho does best at this stage: crowd control, character switching mid-match, and a throttle he can open or close to manage tempo. He doesn't need to be the guy hitting the flashiest rope-to-rope spots. He needs to be the guy who moves 2 steps to the left so the hard cam gets what it needs, who pulls a chin lock just long enough to have a conversation with the audience without saying a word, who knows the exact second to step onto the bottom rope and glance at a handheld to make the building rise before a superplex. His repertoire ages beautifully because it was never about one insane bump. It was about turning a clever idea into a tradition right in front of you. The curiosities around him help you script flavor beats without padding. He once read out a comic-long list of 1,004 holds, deadpan and infuriating. He once vaporized a friendship in a brightly lit segment, so sharply acted that crowd laughter flipped into gasps and then into boos in the space of 2 minutes. He once walked into Japan as a different creature, entirely paint-smeared, strikes nastier, aura darker, and proved he could frighten a building in another language. He once reinvented himself on live TV simply by changing a jacket, lowering his voice, and refusing to give the crowd the catchphrases it begged for until they turned on him for withholding them. Those are not just trivia, they're tools. If he returns, you reference them sparingly and surgically, the way a great band drops the riff you came to hear only after making you sweat. All of this lives inside a corporate moment where WWE itself is busy redrawing how it distributes content and counts success. That context actually helps Jericho. If television is a bigger tent than ever, a comeback like his is exactly the kind of tune-in now hook that can be trailed for weeks without exhausting viewers. If premium events keep chasing stadium acoustics, there are few safer bets than the sound of 10, 20, 50,000 people singing a theme at once. If the company wants to show that it can honor its history while telling contemporary stories, there are few messengers more fluent than a man who is both a pillar of its past and the face of a rival's early identity.